Welcome to another episode of What on Rob Green's Earth. I am your host. If you don't know my name by now, you probably are tuning into the wrong podcast. As you all know, huge wrestling fan. Most of my guests, huge wrestling fans. Some of my guests sometimes happen to dabble in wrestling. And I thought, it's been a long time since I've had someone who's dabbled in wrestling. So, without further ado, we're going to start off by maybe you gentlemen introduce yourself. We're going to start youngest to oldest.
Okay. What's going on? My name is Gabe, formerly known as Ika Brown. It's the guy who spoke a lot of Indonesian, a lot of smiles on the camera, and formerly got beat up by Paul Cruz.
And your associate, sir, your name?
My name is Mr. Grimm, formerly known as Brad Blackrat back in the day. I've been, floating around in the shadows of pro wrestling ever since, 1999. And, between that and accidentally getting into music, as you people know. And, I'm back at her after a very, very, very long struggle. And I'm really excited to be here, guys.
Awesome. So maybe I'll start off with a few questions. So you go by Gabe?
Yeah, Gabe. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to be super polite because you're actually huge. I actually ate a protein bar just before we started recording, so I wouldn't feel intimidated. But no, you're nice.
So you learn quick, Gabe, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely a lot of the, the meaner people seem on TV, the nicer they are backstage because they're creative minds, right? They're nerds and playing. Being a heel takes a lot of creativity and stuff.
Yeah.
That's been my experience anyway so far.
So Gabe, you were signed to WWE. Now, you're still a young guy, so walk me through that process of how you get signed by WWE as a young man, especially put emphasis on the being young part, because it's been so long since I've been young. I kind of forget what that's like.
Yeah, so I'm kind of known for doing a lot of stuff at a young age. But basically now what they're doing, they're trying to recruit people who are young, coming out of their sports. At that time, I was actually going to go into professional rugby, coming straight out of college. So I was in my fifth year, getting my criminal justice degree, and I actually got a DM, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those spam things. I was like, yeah, right. And then I think maybe 2 weeks later, they became verified, and then they popped up in my normal stream, and I was like, whoa, hold on, this is verified. Maybe I should respond to this. And so I ended up responding to it. They flew me out to Orlando, Florida, started a tryout. And I did not know what was going on. I was just happy to be there. Super, super, super stoked. There's people's names and they will not mind me saying this because I love them, but there's people's names I just didn't know. Such as Roxanne Perez, at that time was Roxy, Bianca Corelli, everyone knows Santino, her father, different people like that I just didn't know. But now you're looking at 2 years later and I can still go and call them at any time. Yeah. They brought a whole bunch of us athletes on, and then later, as we knew it, we got a call back, and boom, we were signed. Still don't know how it happened to this day, but I think they saw our hard work and our happy attitudes, and they wanted to bring us in.
That's one in a million, 1 in a billion people get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a pretty lucky guy. Even with hard work, you're a pretty lucky guy.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky to even be around those people. Yeah.
They don't even respond to my DMs. To be fair, they're 3 a.m. and I'm drunk, but that's neither here nor there. That's a different podcast. Mr. Grimm, how did you get into wrestling?
Well, first of all, that this will be a good reference for you. I went to high school, as you know, Rob, in Amherst, Nova Scotia, and that is Rocky Johnson's hometown. With your family being from Amherst, you right away you're a fan of wrestling, right? Because Rocky Johnson's kind of like the hometown hero. My first experience was like a lot of people, I guess, my age at the time, where especially in the 90s, because it was 1999, you're going to, independent shows and you're, helping to sell tickets or you're, just kind of volunteering your time and stuff at the stadium. So it really started there. I was competing in Kodokan Judo at the time. And, I've been a wrestling nerd ever since I can remember. Yeah, one day I was watching the Deanie Petty show and she had Bret Hart on as a guest. And young Edge was one of the audience members. And he asked Bret, he was like, how do you get involved as a professional wrestler? So Bret said, you get started somewhere at a school and then you go to a place like the Dungeon. Then you get opportunities through there. So back before there was the internet, well, no, but I had a cousin in Calgary that gave me the phone number. And I kind of just I didn't know there was wrestling schools around at that time in the Maritimes. So I had called my cousin. She had given me the digit phone number, and I just kind of like skipped the first step,
Mm-hmm.
talked to somebody there. And at that time, I was 245 pounds and about 6 feet tall. And even then, the person I spoke with, he was like, you're kind of small, and, Vince likes big guys and stuff like that. And, there'd be a lot of pressure on you to do things that aren't healthy for you and all that jazz. So he said, but, look into it and give you a call and see if there's somebody in the area where you can get started. So that led me to get in a conversation with somebody in Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, who used to work as an enhancement talent and trained a lot of people. So things had kind of started there. I had gotten injured in judo. The ropes broke there, and I was homeless about 5 years, and then music happened, and I took a hiatus.
Your story's so much longer than his. His was like, yeah, WWE liked me. I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, music accidentally happened. Like, I was really motivated to make, an income out of it at least.
Yeah.
I was very dedicated to it. I thought, hey, maybe there's a way to cross promote the two. Yeah. And then Too Cool Scorpio picked me up because I went from that almost dying twice, and then but still kind of being in the background, trying to network and stuff, because I was told I'd never walk again, sit up again, or anything on my own. And I said, well, I still have to do wrestling. So I've always been a go-getter, and I just kind of like put myself in situations where I take a risk on myself. If you work hard and you're true to yourself, like, people notice, right?
Yeah.
And you make a lot of good references out of it. So, then when I got through cancer and the kidney infections, which, the 2 times that I almost died just, these past 5 years, during the pandemic, I was lucky to be one of the 10 to 15 wrestlers week to week to do workshops for Booker T. And that was for like a year and a half of the pandemic. So, but, the experience at Reality of Wrestling, I couldn't put over enough, because like, even when I was on the streets, being able to volunteer at shows and stuff like that, I was at least in a spot where, even though I was less than human to other people, I felt human there.
Yeah, right? You got like a kind of a kindred spirit with all the other wrestling folks.
And I mean, Too Cool Scorpio taught me the first time we met that wrestling and music, in a lot of ways, in the business side, the two sides of the same coin. There's a lot of things you can apply from one to the other that way in the background.
I like that you keep like name dropping like Booker T, Too Cool Scorpio. Gabe, can I name drop you sometime? Because I don't know a lot of famous people. Whenever I'm like, if I ever met a show and someone doesn't like one of my jokes, I'm just going to pull up his Instagram. Like, see this big guy? Yeah. Watch out. I will get him on a plane from Florida to nowhere, Scotia, and he will deal with you in like 3 days' time. Speaking of like, like workshopping and stuff like that, Gabe, did you have any background in pro wrestling before they found you, or were you just strictly like college athlete, rugby?
Yeah, just strictly college athlete, rugby. I was lieutenant in training in military before that, so it wasn't, the hard work part of it wasn't new to me, I guess.
So what did you find challenging about signing up and going through the system?
Ooh, this is a deep question. And obviously anybody who watches this, anybody who listens to this is my experience. This is not anybody else's experience. And I think I kept this quiet. I kept this really quiet. Pro sports is not what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks it's the money, it's the fame, and it's not. Unfortunately, a lot of what comes with it is mental health stuff. Up until then, never knew I had anxiety. Didn't think it was a thing. I was always like, oh, no, I'm fine. Within like 2 weeks of me being there, I had my first panic attack in class. So in like training with Norman Smiley, actually. I don't even think he knows that happened, because here's not the sad, but just the reality of any pro sports. If you can't handle it, somebody else is begging for your spot and will be able to handle it. That's just what it is. So nobody's going to stop for the things that you're going through. And it's a hard reality, but it's true. And that's me saying it to myself. So I knew that I had to deal with it and figure out how to get through it, because if I'm having an anxiety attack right here, if I want to go to Raw, how am I going to deal with that there? You know what I mean? If you have thousands and thousands of people looking at you, and then it gets posted on social media, and then there's millions of people looking at you that will rip you apart, you're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. So that was by far one of the hardest things I had to deal with. There was very depressive times in there. I'll be honest. there was probably some thoughts of suicide in there. And that's just the tough reality. And I'm glad I didn't tell anybody really, because now the person who I am, I can now deal with it myself. And I can now figure out, oh, okay, like this is an outlet here, this is an outlet there. And I think that's like an important part of just life. You know what I mean? I think it's learning how to kind of handle that, because the person that might help you out of that one situation might not be there for the next situation, but the person in the mirror will always be there. So if you can understand yourself and then get yourself to that level of being able to be like, hey, this is happening, this is what I need to do to get out of here, then you're going to be at such a better place mentally.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely a tough position to be in, to discover you have anxiety when you're right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
It can be crippling, on its own. And when you're around a lot of big egos, whether it's music or wrestling, right? You're around a lot of, hobbyists who just want to have clout with their friends and stuff like that. And which is fine, all the power to you. But those of us that do anything, we take more risks than the average person would. It's one of the reasons we get ahead. And that on its own, I find anyway, carries its own weight, let alone the fact that certain people will throw you under the bus just because they know they won't take the risk. And sometimes, that's right down to not having, a support group around you that really does love, your nerdy, passions.
Yeah. I think a support group is 100% needed. I'll be honest with you though, my family wasn't very supportive. I had 2 brothers visit me while I was down here, but they weren't ever super excited to hear about practices, stuff like that. I had a lot of friends fall off, but also I think it's because rugby's small in America. So I went from playing rugby to now being a WWE superstar. That's a huge jump. And I kind of had I guess I call it the Justin Bieber effect, where I thought I was the man. And so I say at first I was like, I had a lot of friends just leave me. But now kind of being 6 months out of it, I realized that no, I didn't just have a lot of friends leave me. I kind of left my friends because I left who I was when I was at college. And I went for this cocky, arrogant dude that just didn't care. And I'm not proud to say that at all. I am proud to know that I can recognize that, and I can see that now I've changed, but it's also taking some admittance. You know what I mean?
The first step of knowing yourself is knowing yourself, right? And that's a long game. So that's really impressive. Going through all the weight, because our story is very different, but very similar, and ran kind of linear, which is how we kind of got together.
Yeah.
But it's in the past because I'm hanging out with people like Gabe, you know what I mean? And
me and Rob Green over Zoom.
And you and Rob Green, the greatest podcaster, I've ever met on the East Coast. You know what I mean?
We're a very small community, Gabe, on the East Coast here as far as podcasters go. But
well, did you NXT at all roll through the Maritimes when you were there?
Yeah, we kind of rolled through the whole. We had to go to a whole history class every Thursday afternoon.
So many stories from that city, Halifax. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think kind of what we're at is we're all kind of, even myself, come from kind of troubled stuff in the past, and it's really about where we're at now. And we're moving forward, and you find healthy ways to cope, and you surround yourself with a good support system. You were saying you had anxiety, like myself. Before, I've been doing comedy for 7 years, and it's only been the last 2 I've been able to get on stage sober. I've been so bombed, I don't remember going up some nights. So it's, I can see your face there. I did a show once. It was a Friday the 13th themed show. And I had a guy come to my work on Monday and be like, hey, you had a show Friday. And I said, yeah. You heard about that? He says, oh, I was there. It was awesome. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for saying. You should have came and talked to me afterwards. And he said, I was talking to you for 10 minutes after you were off stage, and the lights were on and nobody was home. Yeah. It's one of those things that you reflect on, where I'm at now. I'm in a much better place in life. I don't quite need that to get up on stage. And so I've never been in front of people I'm the crazy old man yelling at the clouds in a bar room full of 100 people, where you've been in front of a stadium, right? So it's not quite the same thing, but it's a little bit the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you come on the show, I do a little thing where I sometimes make up little games or activities or kind of co-opt some other games or activities into my thing. We're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire lightning round. First thing that comes to your mind, I've got 6 for each of you. Who wants to go first?
Gabe's first always.
Always first. Gabe, are you ready?
Yeah.
Rapid fire wrestling. Best theme music.
Lucian Price and Bronco Nima.
If you could join any faction in wrestling history, who would it be?
Oh, that's so Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams right now, actually.
All right. Best big man in wrestling.
Triple H.
Best manager.
Brad Grimm.
Nice. Favorite match type.
Probably a put over, honestly.
And worst ring gear.
Baron Corbin.
Okay. Brad, 6 of them. Are you ready?
Yep.
Best cruiserweight.
Best cruiserweight. My favorite is Ultima Dragon.
Most underrated wrestler.
Most underrated wrestler. Ultima Dragon.
See, you could have returned the favor when he named you best manager, but no, you had to be a dick. Most outlandish gimmick.
We haven't gotten to my favorite of all time.
Best outlandish gimmick.
Gobbledygook.
Gobbledygooker. Most overrated move.
Well, unfortunately now it's the super kick.
Wrestling crush. Who's your wrestling crush?
Ooh, Luna Vachon.
Favorite announcer?
Favorite announcer? Mean Gene.
Mean Gene. That's a good one. Since we, I guess since we're back in the wrestling and questions and stuff, just some normal questions. Gabe, who's your inspirations? Like when you get in the ring, like it could be in ring or kind of persona wise. Like everyone always says, no, I'm not worried about being the next this person. I want to be the first me. But everyone takes inspiration. Who are yours?
I think it's honestly the people that were real to me inside the ring and outside the ring. People have my back endlessly. Big one is Apollo Crews. He's a guy who's on Raw. He's on SmackDown. He's on everything. But he's also the guy that texted me when he found out I was released. And he had no business to even feel like he needed to text me. I was a little NXT guy, and he was a main roster talent that still cared about somebody who had a couple conversations with him. Now he's somebody I talk to at least once or twice a week, just about football or different TV shows. But he's turned into one of my really good mentors and really good friends now. So that's honestly somebody who does really help me. I would also say Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. They were people that as soon as we got in there was extra ring sessions with them. There was different things like that. And they were always cheering us on. And then lastly, I would say Wesley. Wesley is a big influence in my life. He was again one of the bigger NXT people, probably somebody who's going to move up to Raw here soon. But he was one person that would, whenever we had a training session or anything like that, he saw something, he'd come over and say it in a loving way. And it was always trying to see me do better.
Little fun tidbit. If I were involved in the lightning round and you asked me most underrated, Apollo Crews.
Yes.
I don't think that man gets near enough credit for what his value could be.
Exactly.
I gotta say, regardless of what the dirt sheets say, like as somebody who's been on the road as a musician and knows how exhausting it is to put everything you are into your performance, for Chris Jericho to go out there, you know what I mean, within the same day into a wrestling match and then go play in front of hot lights and put his whole body into his performance, you know what I mean? To me, I totally get it when people say he's the GOAT.
Safe to say that that'd be one of your inspirations if I were to ask you the question.
Oh, for sure. Especially back in his Lionheart days, because my older cousins used to trade tapes and stuff like that. So I did see the Lionheart days, and I was a huge ECW fan, you know what I mean, throughout the 90s. Chris was one of them. Too Cold Scorpio, you know what I mean? He was like my first exposure to WCW. Mm-hmm. So because, you know, as you know, in the Maritimes, you get a lot of TV from Rochester, New York. Yeah. So, you know, it wasn't until the 90s where WCW really took hold in the Saturday morning days and all that stuff, right? And then, you know, before Nitro and whatnot. So, yeah, today, you know what I mean? I have to say, like, I'm an old school friggin' punk rocker, right? Like, and there's nobody more punk rock out there than the best in the world, CM Punk. So he's out there not making a gimmick of our lifestyle. You know what I mean? He's actually gotten where he is.
Also, I want to thank you for mentioning CM Punk. Anything that mentions him as a lightning rod in the wrestling world now. So I might get a few hits off that.
That's what I was thinking. And, you know, just on the side that it's just like, hey, here's another punk rocker. So marketing, right?
And yeah, he's the best in the world at what he does in the ring, on the mic and stuff. But as far as being in the ring goes, Gabe, tell me about your best and worst match.
Oh, okay. So my best match was with a guy named Ru Fang, actually, and he was released actually with me. But it was by far one of the best matches I had. My worst match, though, was probably with. I'm not going to mention this person's name, actually, just to kind of protect him. He's still current talent in there. Anybody who has seen this match will know exactly what I'm talking about. But he actually took my leg and slammed it on the wrong side, where my shin was. At the time, I was still kind of a young talent, and so I didn't really know that was like not supposed to happen. That was probably one of the hardest matches I had to go through because there was a time where I kind of slipped in it, different things like that. And I remember one of the coaches, he like ripped me apart when I came backstage. But that was by far one of the hardest. That was one of the hardest matches because mentally I felt like I really screwed up too.
It's just one of those ones that when it started going off the rails, it wasn't getting back on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, those things happen in life. It's a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have listened up on the show before coming on just to kind of get a feel for it, but there is a signature segment on this show, and it is called 5 Stupid Questions. In life, we are told there are no stupid questions. However, gentlemen, I will give you 5 to grapple with.
Let's go. Go on.
All right. And Mr. Grimm's rules, Gabe always first. Question number 1. Why are mullets coming back?
Why are what?
Mullets coming back.
Oh, you're talking to a rugby guy. Like we like mullets. So honestly, it's because of the flow of the wind. And when you're on the field, it looks amazing.
Mr. Grimm, what do you think?
It's like he said, probably something to do with the air conditioning on the sides. You know what I mean? So as well, but you look sharp at the same time. So, hide the negatives, accentuate the positives, my friends.
Fair enough. Question 2. What's the weirdest non-living thing you've given a human name to?
Oh, I don't know if I have, to be honest with you. That's hard. I don't name my car.
That's the big go-to for people is their car.
Yeah. I don't name my shoes. None of my jerseys. Not my hats. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't think I do.
He's got nothing.
Yeah. Like an animal, but like I don't really.
They're alive. They count. They count as things.
Oh, well then
well, we're gonna make this exception for you because you don't got anything.
Yeah.
Mine's all my frying pans, so.
Here's what?
Mine are all my frying pans because I love to cook.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'd say like pepper for my cat, but like that's kind of normal.
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal. It's okay to not have an answer. They are stupid questions. All right. 3rd question. How many times does someone have to attempt mundane weather talk before you avoid having conversations with them?
Once.
Just once?
Yeah. I don't care about the weather.
Well, any of us Maritimers that deal with freakish weather where it changes 3 times of the day, you know what I mean, in Nova Scotia, right? So, and you're sitting at the bus, you know what I mean, waiting for the bus, and we don't like awkward silences, so we just yap off anyway. And but that's usually the first thing. But here in Victoria, it's different. People have about a 30-second time span of you, so regardless of who you are. So like they're engaged, and then you can see the look on their face just sink down.
Yeah.
Like if I hear weather talk coming, I'm out. Like my dad will bring up the weather. And I'm like, I gotta go, man. Like I'm busy.
Yeah.
Victoria and BC used to be like in a lot of ways the California of Canada, but it's very much after the pandemic become the Florida of Canada in like the Florida man sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the stereotype.
Yeah, no, I've been out there. I used to live out there. What is your least favorite knock-knock joke?
Knock, knock, who's there? Why did the chicken cross the road? No, sorry. Actually, it's knock, knock, who's there? Orange. Aren't you glad you like whatever?
Yeah,
banana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one. My least favorite is knock knock. Who's there? Joe. Joe who? Joe Mama. Like,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
I could actually punch someone for saying that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, and actually that was the fourth question because we're on the last one now. Are you ready for the last question?
Yeah.
If you had to clean up in a pinch by taking a horse bath in a public washroom, what establishment would you prefer?
Wait, can you reiterate that?
You know what a horse bath is, right?
Yeah.
You just fill a sink up with water and you just use like the dispenser soap and you just clean all your most valuables.
Oh hell no.
You've never heard of that?
Nah.
Oh, you're so young.
I'm Canadian, and I that one went above my head. So
Oh.
Oh hell no. What establishment would I choose?
Yeah, okay, you're stranded through some kind of misfortune that would make a great movie, but we're not getting into it right now. You are a mess and you have to clean yourself up to go to an important meeting.
Starbucks.
Starbucks. That's good. Get a cup of coffee while you're there.
Yeah, I feel like they got a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? That can clean you up. And I feel like their bathrooms are probably more clean than some. So I'm hitting the Starbucks for sure.
There you go. You get to your meeting and they're like, what is that smell? Is that hazelnut crunch you're wearing?
Exactly. Spill some coffee on me. All cologne.
Brad, where are you bathing yourself in the sink?
I would say any small bathroom in a mall in Europe or Brazil, because they've got a bidet. And once you use the bidet you never go back. Those who know. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, facts.
I've never tried a bidet.
Yeah, it'll change your life. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's just one of those things. No matter who you are in this world, one of the things that we can all come together on is the bidet. So let go of your pride, folks, and spray your tushies.
I've just never had the opportunity, but if anyone out there in the world of podcast listening is nearby and would like to offer me the services of their bidet, I would be very grateful.
Hell yeah!
Like I'll give you an autograph, and if it's not worth anything, Gabe, will you send somebody an autograph if they let me use their bidet?
Yeah, for sure. Somebody asked me for my signature recently, and I just have forgotten to honestly send it to them, and I feel so bad.
Oh. Of course they do. You know what I mean? You do. You come on, man. You do. You're used to that.
Yeah.
Imagine all the autographs you were going to have like luggage just for stuff to sign. So it'll be good practice, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
I had to sign an autograph once at a comedy show.
When you're from a small, it doesn't matter who you are. When you get used to it, when you're getting yourself out there, the first time it's just like, you're like, who, me?
Like, it was really weird though. He was like, okay, I need to drop this sound equipment off here. Can I get you to sign here, sir? And I was, okay, awesome.
Well, little kids are the best ones. They see as superheroes, like huge entities, whether it's music or wrestling, right? So, you're really like a cartoon character to a 5-year-old. So it's those are the best, man. Like in my opinion, it's probably the most rewarding. And as somebody who, grew up in the hospital a lot as a kid, like it's really cool to be able to do that for people. So
yeah. I guess we're kind of getting pretty close to the time. So I was actually a couple quick questions I was gonna just kind of rattle off. Gabe, you're kind of on I guess we call it a redemption tour. Can we call it that?
Yeah, you can most definitely call it that.
Okay, so
a lot of people I need to make sorry for never trusting in me and never giving me a chance to tell my story. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a big one. And I'm grateful about the amount of people I can count on my hands now that have really trusted me for this next year. This next year is going to be huge for me and Brad. And I promise you, you're going to see us on AEW or WWE again. And it'll be something to smile about.
Now, just I guess where you kind of found yourself at a favor, could you kind of give us just a little bit of background on that? Nothing too specific if you don't want, and just kind of tell us what you learned from that and how you improve upon that and where you go. Just because a lot of people out there find themselves in situations and just, like, how do you cope with it and how do you move forward?
Yeah, most definitely. I think there's a story behind it that I don't mind dropping. Essentially what happened is when I entered into WWE, I was young. I was 23 years old. And I was still girl crazy. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to have backstage drama. And I'll be honest with you, it was probably one of the biggest things that I struggled with, was just kind of always turning my head. And I could have spent all that time kind of extra training, extra studying film, different things like that. And I ended up talking to multiple different women behind scenes and kind of just creating a little bit of like drama. And I have all respect for all of them. But at the end of the day, nobody wants somebody who's like, oh, this talent is consistently sliding my DMs. This person is doing this, person's doing this. And it happened that there was a person I fully trusted while I was in there. He has a big name out there, but he also doesn't have social media for a reason. And I trusted him with a lot of stuff, and we ended up having a disagreement about something. And he ended up not really hearing my side of the story, and I really wish he had. But essentially, you learn very quickly that sometimes your friends are not your friends. Sometimes they're the ones sinking the boat, and you have to understand who is your friends and who is not your friends. And my friends that had really trusted me and really wanted me to do well, I'd kind of been ignoring what they had been telling me. And I was kind of following in somebody who's already established in there. And it kind of taught me, because I fell down, you know what I mean? I got that call that you're released. And that's not a fun call. It's not a fun call at all. It caused me to go into a really dark place and really try to find who the hell I was. And when I look in the mirror, who the hell I was going to be. I don't want to be that person that people are like, oh, he's coming to the event, or, oh, I have to wrestle him. I always will remember, I'll remember two different things. Again, I'm not going to drop this person's name, but it was one of my last days there, and we were at Extra Ring, and I had messed up. I'd done a match that we called on the fly, and I just was in my head about a lot of different things. I had like two of my friends die while I was in WWE, and I never told really anybody. I ended up having a match with somebody, and there was a ref that came, and after the match, he looks me in the face and says, "You fucking suck." And I fully understood that he fully believed that. And I believed that about myself as well. Until now. Until about like 6-7 months ago. As some people know, I left WWE and I signed a professional football contract like a month later. I had an opportunity to go play another professional rugby game afterwards. So regardless of if somebody tells you that you're not good, you're not going to make it, you're going to make it. Because that's going to light a fire underneath you, and that's going to make sure that you make people understand that they missed their chance on you. And that's what this tour is going to be about. It's going to be about making people who really deserve it actually have the light on them. It's going to be a long journey, but it's not anything new to me.
Mr. Grimm, what advice do you got for people on the comeback?
One thing I can say is life is a long game. You know what I mean? And that includes, following your dreams and actually, like I said, like I always say, bust your ass, be true to you, and you'll be surprised who notice. Whether that's like, Gabe said, as the algorithms of the universe brought us together, you know what I mean? That, you show up early, you leave late. And, and it's just like if I'm working at a job back in the day, or, wrestling, or I'm at I'm at a show, whether I'm headlining or not, right? Like I want to make sure everybody there sees me on the bill and says, oh, thank God Brad and Gabe are there. You know what I mean? So, and that will take you a long way along with your talent, right? So don't give up on yourself. You're around a lot of people that they don't hate you. It's all insecurity because you've been able to take risks. You know what I mean? And you've been able to go, to put yourself out there through all your struggles. You know what I mean? So, they hate you because they ain't you mentality. So, whether people like it or not, Gabe's, coming back, and, I'm there to do business to make sure that he gets a taste of every single title until he gets every single world title that's out there.
Yeah, I've always said that about myself when I'm performing, when they say like people kind of ask me what's your goals, and it's always been to make sure no one's ever been upset they spent $1 to see Rob Green on stage. And that's the mentality that I kind of carry every time I go forward. There's actually one question I missed. I got to know, Gabe, what's your finisher?
My finisher is actually getting redesigned.
We'll keep the new one under wraps so no one gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, Gabe's going to fire everything at them, right? So, and whether it's get knocked out, tap out, or pinned 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? Gabe's won at the end of the day. So, it's not going to matter. Here he comes.
I will say, so I'm 6'6", 295 pounds, and I can do a drop kick very easily to somebody's face. Extremely fast and extremely snappy. So I promise you will be seeing that. Won't be my finisher because that's way too commonly used. But to see a 6'6" guy jump up in the sky, smack him in the face, pretty impressive. So
that guy's serious.
He's not here to prove anybody wrong. He's here to prove himself right. So, at the end of the day, that means they're going to be looking up at the lights, with him moving up.
Do we get a little sample of what the new finisher is going to be called, or is that all going to be revealed soon enough?
It's going to probably be an Indonesian word. I will say that.
Okay.
It'll probably be along the lines of what a snake means, because it kind of goes in with my last year and me feeling snaked and how badly it tore me down. So I want to make sure that every single one of my losses that I give to people feels that same pain. So it'll probably be along the lines of ular, and we'll go from there.
I can't wait to see you on TV. Now, 2-3 years down the road, when you're on a nationally televised program with people holding up signs and cheering your name, you think you'll come back on the show and help me get a little bit bigger?
Most definitely.
Give me the rub, give me a little bit of clout.
Yeah, most definitely.
Can't wait to see it. Just promise me one thing. Don't stop.
Yeah, one way or another, Gabriel's here to show you the way.
Most definitely.
You definitely need a move called the wrong way.
Yeah. We might bring that out. We might bring it out. We'll see.
All right. So the last thing that all my guests have to do is someone has to hit the outro music. So, Mr. Grimm.
Those who know me real well. And those who don't, you're about to get to know me real soon. Because I'm here with my man, Gabriel Wai.
Hit it.